Hey, my name's Kevin. Let's talk about queer stuff and Jesus and how the shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando changed everything for queer people. I remember when I first came out, my mother started saying to be careful whenever I would get off the phone with her, whenever I told her I was going out somewhere. And I didn't really understand why, because when I came out, I felt pretty invincible. I felt like I could take on the world. Like I was being who God was created me to be. And if God is for me, who can be against me? I felt like I was living into this truth, and I wore my truth like an armor, and it was indestructible. Even before I came out though, like one of the places I felt like the most safe and the most like I could be myself and nothing mattered was in a dance club, in a gay club. And that all changed last year when a man walked into Pulse nightclub and opened fire and killed 49 queer Latinx people and injured several others. I was in DC when it happened. I was working for an LGBT nonprofit at the time, and I woke up and my supervisor, the guy I was working with, said there was a shooting last night at and it was at a gay club. And the information like hit me in the face. It hit and it just didn't sink in. Like it didn't feel real. I don't know if I had like the mental capacity to really comprehend what that meant. I was in festival mode. I was like, okay, I have to get the tent set up. I have to create the displays. My way of coping with it initially was like, I have to work. I have to get this done. I have to not slow down, because if I slow down, if I look at the news, and it was like I lived in a parallel universe for like 13 hours. And on top of that, like, I mean, we'd all have seen mass shootings before. Columbine happened when I was a kid, Sandy Hook, and the countless names of Black boys and men who were being murdered by police in the streets. Like we'd all been hearing about these things, but it never hit me. It never was personal, not until Pulse, not until someone like myself was murdered simply because they were themselves, and murdered in a place where they thought that they were safe. I just kept thinking, that could be me. That could be any one of my friends. That could be countless people that I just met that day. I remember like my mom said, be careful, Kevin. It was almost like my mother, like she knew that the world was such an unsafe place, and I just didn't get it. Not until that moment. Clubs for so long have been, since the beginning of the organizing of the LGBTQ community, have been safe places and sanctuaries for queer people. I honestly feel more comfortable in a gay bar than I do in many churches for this very reason, because in a club I can be myself completely. In a church, I am expected to act a certain way, be a certain kind of person. And right after the shooting, what I needed was my church to be the church, to open up their spaces for me to mourn. And what I saw a year ago was many pastors did the right thing. Many church spaces did the right thing, especially affirming spaces, did exactly what they were supposed to do and open up their spaces for mourning. What bugged me, and what I did see, and a lot of mega church evangelical pastors were making it about something other than what it was. I heard one big name pastor from, I think, South Carolina say it wasn't a gun problem, it was a sin problem. Many pastors, even still today, say like, well, when I remember Pulse, I don't see it as LGBT people, I just see it as people were getting killed. But it is so important that we remember that it was queer people being killed. I even heard some Christians rejoicing in the fact that, oh, well, those sinners got what they deserved. And the overwhelming thing I heard was that the LGBTQ community is in our thoughts and prayers. And I took issue with that for a few reasons, because so many conservative or loving but not affirming people would say, you're in our thoughts and prayers. They were seeking to honor the dead. And yes, that's very admirable, but how could you ever honor somebody in death if you never honored them in life? Like, how could you ever honor the memory of someone while also from your pulpits proclaiming homosexuality is a sin, homosexuality is an abomination? You turn around and cry crocodile tears about what a tragedy this is, but then you do nothing. It's not enough that we're integrated into your prayer services if we're not integrated into the life of your church. It's not enough to say the right thing in the moment without actually doing the right thing later, which is fighting for queer lives, fighting for our protection, fighting for sensible gun reform, for Pete's sake. It's important to remember what happened, because if we can't point to what has happened and name the things that happened, we will never ever be able to move forward. We'll never ever be able to create the legislation that's going to protect people from tragedies like that from happening ever again. I don't know what it's going to take at this point, because you'd think that Columbine would have been enough. You'd think that Sandy Hook would have been enough. You'd think that San Bernardino would have been enough. You'd think that the countless black bodies that are being left in the streets would be enough to push for some kind of reform. We need to be working hard, not just with building community within ourselves, but also working with our governments, local and national, in order to bring about good reform that's going to protect queer people and reform gun laws so that we can live as a healthier society. Because it's not just good for queer people, it's good for all of us. And it's important to remember that this is Pride Month. Even though the President of the United States will not name it that, it is LGBTQ Pride Month. It is a chance for us to say loud and proud that we are here, we exist, and we are taking up the space that we deserve. And one act of terror against the queer community is not going to scatter us into the night. It is going to pull us together stronger, and we're going to keep on marching. We're going to keep protesting. We're going to keep getting in your face until you recognize the humanity of our community. And we're going to also say loud and proud that God is proud of us, every single one of us, whether you believe it or not. And whether you believe it or not does not make it any less true. Pride is important. Pride's important, and visibility matters, because if it wasn't for somebody going before me and paving the way for someone like me, a queer Christian, to stand up and say that I am proud to be gay. I'm proud to be a gay son of God. I'm proud to be a gay Christian. I wouldn't be making this video. I probably wouldn't even be still living. It's going to take queer Christians being louder and more visible than ever to help reform our churches, to make churches into safer spaces. LGBTQ Christians aren't like coming in and trying to change anything. We're already here in your churches. We're sitting in pews every single Sunday. And it's also gonna take straight allies standing up alongside us, centering our voices and giving us the microphone when they can, and also when our voices are silenced, speaking up on behalf of us. So to all my LGBTQ friends and family, I want to say to you, hold your head up. God is so proud of you. God is proud of you for who God created you to be, not for what the world tells you you have to be, not for what your pastor says you have to be, not for what your family says that you need to be. You are fearfully, wonderfully, beautifully made. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and like and share and subscribe. Share this with a friend. I know I got super preachy in the middle of it, but that's fine, because that's what we're here for. Connect with me with all the social media on the blog, Patreon, podcast. All those links are below. And also leave me a comment. What does pride mean to you as either just a queer person of faith? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's start a conversation below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.